Oh, like that.
All right, I'd like to call the April 13th Council on Aging meeting to order. Thank you very much. I see we've got the live caption set up, which is really great. So, so we'll take the attendance and we'll take it, roll call because we have one person online. So, Marilyn Shapley here. Kate Harrington. Here. Ron Howard. John Harrison. Here. John Szynski. Rosemary DiBenedetto.
Here.
Karen Janowski here. Thank you all. So I'll go over the agenda. We are going to have public comment first, approval of the meeting minutes. We also will have, and it was my mistake in select board update with Karen Rosgillis, review and discussion of the COA member packet. We'll have the elderly human services report and updates from Carrie. We'll have the Friends of Family Day tables with Friends of Ready to Speak Plus. Discussion of possible vote on the survey. A working group update. We're going to take it out of order. The PBC update will go next. And then the trust funds. And there is a future agenda items, property tax worker program. And then we will adjourn. And I mistakenly, it's a typo, did not give PBC update more than 0 minutes. So that is the thing. Yes.
Right, slip.
So first of all, could we have public comment? And I know Nora Buckle would like to speak.
Oh, yeah, I'm commenting for the Friends of Reading, Senior Plus. We actually had our annual meeting today. So we have, we're finalizing the board of directors and our officers. And one of the things coming up in May 20th, we're having another antique appraisal show. It's on a Wednesday at St. Agnes, has a hall that we use, and you bring your antiques and they're appraised, and it's from 3 to 5 and 6 to 8. And last year it was very, very successful. People had a lot of fun. There's a great antique appraiser guy that leads it. So we'll give you more information about that. Also, there's a life transition binder program that Anne Marie can mention.
We're sponsoring a life transition binder program, put all your stuff together. I'm dead. What do we do now? Kind of idea. And according to the sign up site, the 30 people have already signed up. It's full. So there were people, we got, questions about doing it at another time, whether it, for people that aren't available at 10:30 in the morning. So we'll see how this goes, see if it's of value, which we know it is, and see what we do next.
So has it started?
No,
It starts May, it's
May.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like the 3rd week in May and then 2 weeks in the beginning of June. So it's every Wednesday for 4 weeks.
It's maxed out.
That's right.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sponsoring this.
yeah, so.
Excellent.
that's really about it.
Thank you for all you are doing as well, and for that fundraiser. That's great. So, any other public comment?
The one thing that I came
Oh,
here
can
to
you
talk
just,
about,
can you
in my name,
name
Yes.
and address, please?
yeah, Carol Perlitz, 252 Charles Street.
Thank you.
So I am a senior and I've been following ReCal and what you've been doing on that. And I was a little bit concerned about when we kind of decided against the room divider idea, because it looked like it was going to be a good way to support smaller rooms where people can have conversations, or if there's a shine consultation that's going on or something like that where you need some privacy. And I also wondered about the cost that you had seen that you got for that divider, and wondered if there were other options. Maybe there's other people that you can talk to about that. But besides that, so I know you're looking at some other ways to create smaller spaces where seniors can come and either socialize or have smaller programs or something. And I wanted to make sure that was a focus. particularly with that area like the lounge that has after it, the card room and things, and then out onto the patio. So that whole section I understood was kind of for seniors to do this socialization. And I wanted to make sure that we were considering that, going to make sure that it was there. Okay, thank you.
Anyone? Okay. All right, Karen Rose Gillis, select board update, please.
All right, I'll keep it quick. As we all know, we have a new town manager, Jane Wellman, since the last time we all met. Yay. It's not a new face, but it's very exciting. We recently had our elections. We have a new select board member, Sal Vermonti. He starts tomorrow, got sworn in today. Look forward to working with him. As you know, Karen was reelected as well, so she'll be there tomorrow with bells on, I'm sure. We're gonna restructure the leadership tomorrow at the meetings and something to look forward to. And we all attended a mass DOT project information session online, talking about 95, 128 changes that they're planning on looking into. A lot of people attended, over about 200 people attended.
Wow.
There was a lot of questions that were really good, and I thought the presentation was great, and I've been backed into in that area, so I'm fully in favor of it myself, but it'll be interesting to see. And they're not taking any homes as part of this. That's kind of a big thing. We had a recal presentation that we've also had here, which was really, really excellent. I know you talk later about the property tax worker program. The applications are open and live. And so there's an information session on the 21st. I'm sure you'll talk about it or not. I do know the select board will be discussing increasing that program a little bit in the future. So that's also. That's all I can.
Great. Thank you. Any questions?
I was gonna say any questions.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes from February, as well as amended minutes from the December joint meeting that we had. Are there any changes? Or first of all, any, go to, do I have a motion to approve the February minutes? No. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think this is the next meeting, March. It, on the second page, refers to what I have come to believe is an error. I don't know that it was stated as an error or whether it was true. Anyway, it says 80,000 in expendable interest for Burbank. And I believe that's not correct. I believe that the number is actually 80,000 earned, but the expenses have not been subtracted out of that. So it's 80,000 in total interest earned over the 5 or 6 year period, whatever was on the table.
So that was what was discussed at the time, but we need to correct the information.
Right.
Since then.
Right. So I don't know how to handle it. It just, we
Oh.
need to make sure we figure this out so that it doesn't perpetuate incorrectly.
But it is what was said at the minute.
Right.
So we need
So
to
it
leave it in there.
Right, it was
Yeah.
said. So the minutes are correct, but it's an
Okay.
issue that needs to be addressed.
So maybe we can put that under future agenda item,
Okay,
Okay.
or it could be part of our trust fund update today. We'll see
we
how
can put
it,
it, okay,
we'll see
okay.
how it gets managed.
Okay,
So
okay,
that doesn't need to be updated. Because that was correct. That was what was stated at the time.
all right, I buy that.
Okay, so let's deal with February 1st. Any other discussion on the February minutes? We did not for tonight, and I think we yes. Do we have nominations? I'm sorry, we're out of order again, but do we have nominations for secretary? That's really the way we need to deal with it. We do not have a current secretary, and we do need nominations for secretary.
I propose asking the town to give us a secretary like they do for most other committees. So my nomination is someone from staff, which it used to be before I started doing it.
So we can blame you.
Okay. I was suckered. Naive and young.
Thoughts? We can continue to just get somebody compile from the AI generated report. It gives an awful lot of information. Really a lot. of information. You are? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
So are you nominating yourself? You can.
No, for secretary. Just to continue to. compile
You,
minutes.
so you are willing to take minutes for our meeting?
Yes, for today.
And not call yourself secretary? All right. Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right, all those in favor of approving the February minutes? We'll do a roll call vote. Rosemary, I'll call on you first.
I can hardly hear what's going on in the meeting. What are you voting on?
We're voting on the February minutes. We had no changes to the minutes.
Okay, I'll agree.
Okay, Marilyn,
Yes, and also if we could, Rosemary, can you turn your closed caption on so you can read it?
I'll try. Go ahead. Don't wait for me.
yeah, that will help because it's really doing a nice job picking it up here.
Yeah.
So turn on closed captions and hopefully that will help.
Yes.
Kate, Ron,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
John, Karen. Okay, the motion passes 7-0. Now we can look at the amended December minutes. Are there any changes? Could I have a motion to approve the December minutes?
Motion to approve December minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
5 seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will vote again. Marilyn?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
John? Rosemary?
Yes,
Are you hearing us a little better? I'm trying to be a little louder.
the transmission is very poor. I'm
Okay.
sorry I couldn't be in there tonight because it's very hard to hear you, but go ahead. Don't wait for me.
Okay, so that motion also passes 7-0. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is review and discussion of COA new member packet. This is something that reflects a lot of work by several members, but especially Marilyn Chaplin. So we really need to thank you, Marilyn, for the hard work. You compiled a lot of information and some of you whittled out a lot of extraneous information. And now we do have a new member packet that we can look through. And it is, I think it's 31 pages long altogether. And I hope everybody has had a chance to look through the packet. It's actually at the end of our packet, starting on page 24 of the packet. And I think you know a lot, but you don't. You're always learning something new.
You can tell because the old blue one, all the stickies are, every time I've had a question over the years, I keep going back to it. So it's a lot to absorb and depending on the circumstances, you'll look for different things.
Any comments? One of the things, any comments? Okay,
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the language because there is so many documents, but when I read this, I have a couple questions and, well, see, I'm looking at something else that I thought was also. But one of my questions is when it talks about identifying the needs of the 60+ community and residents, I've been wondering, so because I have nothing to do with my life, one day recently, I read all the reports, the research done prior to developing the plans for retail. And the 3 reports pretty much summarize the same set of needs for residents in Reading. And then, this was the really fun part, I read 5 years worth of Council on Aging minutes, starting in 2020. And there's a slight gap in 2025, but I read 5 years. And what struck me was that of the needs presented or identified in those surveys, the Council on Aging discussion in those years dealt with very few of those needs. And so part of the question I have is how the council relates to the spectrum of needs if we're really supposed to be advocating for the full spectrum. That was one of the things that came to mind for me.
Yeah, because I've been on during that period and they haven't been very important issues, so we have recognized, and that's why I put the survey on the agenda for tonight. So we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Did you
I thought we might get to it then.
Yeah,
Were you gonna ask me a question?
no, was there anything else?
Well, I also think that at some point, it could be useful for the council to have a conversation about the other piece of our responsibilities, establishing a policy direction to be implemented by Reading Elder and Human Services. Because I get the sense that not everyone's comfortable with that, and that creates a tension, and so it makes it harder to do our work and to know how to advocate. I always say that wrong when I want to use it as a verb. And so at some point, I think it would be a good discussion for the full council to get everybody's opinions.
Yeah.
I just highlight a few things in there. It's got 5 major sections. In the old notebook, there were the kind of dividers we had in elementary school, but I just put in sheets that said section 1, 2, 3. If I had colored paper, I'd do that, but you do what you can. The first one is just highlights Reading's council's responsibilities as they currently are defined and have been forever, as far as I know. The second gets to, there's the Mass Councils on Aging, and they've got a big online booklet full of resources that's useful to both councils on aging and elder services, and also explains the fact that different towns have different structures. So what's called the Council on Aging here is different from Melrose, from Stoneham, from Wakefield, and it can be confusing because you'll hear the Council on Aging did this, and we're like, we can't do that, or how'd they do that? It's because they're set up differently. So that's why it's important to look at these kind of tedious documents and see how we're set up under our charter and under our bylaws. The third section has the statutes that created us, going back to Mass General Law, blah, 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 8B. And that's where this all came from. What the thing I call attention to there is when they were doing this for the state, they were looking to set up senior centers, be they called elder services or council on aging, but whatever the structure was that was serving the older population, it was meant to foster the goals of the state executive office, and it used to be the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. They've changed their name now. It's called the Executive Office of Age and Independence, which is a really interesting shift, and they're much more oriented on the broad community and what it needs, including things like housing and transport, the whole thing. It's not so focused on a traditional senior center. So it's interesting to note, and I think a helpful perspective, getting back to what you were talking about, what is our purpose and what's the broader goal we're trying to serve? So I draw attention to that. The fourth section gets into the money, the documents that establish the trust funds. It includes all the correspondence from the attorneys and the background on so-and-so, so appreciated, whatever we did and so why it exists. And the policy for how we expend each of the funds is there as well. And the last is policy on fees and so forth. And I just really, I hope we agree this is finally ready to be posted online. Laura, Jim has been ready to push the button since December. She's got the document. I mean, the fact that it has not been online and no one has been reproducing these notebooks, and the hard copy notebooks have gotten so out of date is the reason why at least 3/4 of the people here have never seen any of these documents. They need to be online. Any issue with anyone? I'm getting that done at last.
Is that a question for me? My understanding is Laura hasn't reviewed the documents yet. So she needs to review them. Once the council on aging votes to have them go forward, then she'll review them. And if there are any edits at that point, she'll send them back to the council on aging for review. But if there's nothing to do or no amendments to make, there's no reason why they can't be put online.
No, she told me she couldn't do that, and then she sent it to Jenna for that reason, because someone on staff had to do it.
Yeah, when we met last week in our group meeting too, there's some other boards that were wanting to give some information to their boards.
Yeah,
And she just wants to be careful that everything's streamlined,
okay.
that all the volunteers are getting consistent information and things like that. So I think once again, you approve this as, you know, you guys have a chance to review and approve it, we can revisit it as staff and come up with a cohesive game plan to put it on the
We'll
website.
get this out there in 2 weeks. This has gone on for years. I kid you not, years. And it's always, this one's getting updated and that one's out of date and the policy. Can we please, these are not new documents. They've been on the board for 30 years. Is there a way we can put them on the website?
So those are all council on aging related questions. So
Yes.
Council on aging has to have a unified document. And once the council on aging approves their document, then staff will review it, make sure it's all up to date. If we have any changes, we'll send it back. If not, we'll post it.
So
But
what we
we're not
need is a
opposed to
vote
posting it.
Approve the document? Can we do that?
So, my understanding is that this is not anything financial, and my understanding is that, going back to the minutes, that notices, and agendas are to be posted 48 hours in advance. Agenda does not necessarily include all matters that may be taken up in this meeting. So this is the matter that was taken up, and I did not add the vote for a thing. But it's not financial, it's something that is be covered. Because you're right, you discussed this on.
Literally years. I mean, literally.
So there were a few links that need to be
Okay.
made live. I did notice one thing, this is more of a question.
Yeah.
And not about the process or anything, but I found it interesting that, there was one, the patrons of older adults. That, support fund, income will be used no less frequently than annually. Yes. We didn't disperse any money from that.
Yes, we did.
We did? Okay, good. And the year before as well,
I don't recall.
but that was
I know.
something that I picked up on,
I know.
that were we exempt,
I know. It got kind of confused because a motion had been made to stop spending until the pandemic was
Right,
in Europe. So
exactly.
it got, I think, muddied, but last
Yeah.
year we definitely reactivated it.
and I did also notice that, in the minutes, these were, that were added to this from 2012. It did say that, there was a vote to take up to $400 from the Burbank Fund to purchase gifts for the volunteer appreciation dinner. So I'm wondering if that's something that you would like to ask us for, because I know there's a volunteer appreciation.
I believe we're on target for that. And we don't need
Okay.
additional funds
So
at
that
this
would
time for
encourage
it.
you to ask us for money for that?
Of course.
Yes, because I did notice that that also was in there as well. And the other thing I do have a question on, and again, I don't know who best knows the answer to this. But at the very end of the document, the very last page, fundraising raffles charging admission for senior center events. It says charging for events is permitted, but only enough to cover costs. And funds should be deposited into one of the donation accounts with clear and consistent description of withdrawn from the same account to pay for the event. So I'm wondering, are events the same thing or are they different from programs? So that's something
It's a good question.
I wonder about.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that we can talk about together and address that in the future. Because that doesn't, because it also speaks to the revolving fund that we have. So I do wonder. And again, we don't have this fundraising last page, we don't have a citation for it either. So that's part of.
Well, that is where it was in the elder services server.
Right, so that would be something else that we would, once we approve this
Right.
to go forward, that would be something that we need guidance from. the
Absolutely,
town about.
because that is the only hitch I see in replenishing the revolving fund, so it's really important to find out where this came from and to see if it's events and programs and if we can change it.
So,
Yeah.
how we use the revolving.
Yeah.
So, any other
Yeah,
questions?
if I could ask a question right on the subject we're talking about. Is somewhere in there that, money can be used to buy an item? Is an event an item?
So that, I think was a different, they talked specifically about an item like a television.
Right, they bought a television, they said you could buy a television, i.e., or you could buy an item, i.e. television. Say Anna came to us and said, I've got an event I want to sponsor. Is an event an item?
No, not the way this last
Okay.
last paragraph, so. Because they talk about towards the, there's two different bullet points. So I think what we want to do is, do I have a motion about moving this forward to the town?
Do we need to make these adjustments first? The only one I could
These
think
are
is
the
the
questions.
links. The links.
The links, yeah, the links. It's more about the questions. Yeah.
So this isn't a final draft?
Is it a final draft?
Yeah.
It's in draft form. It still needs to be approved
Okay.
from the town.
And
But
then,
we are forwarding the draft.
and then do we get a chance to improve it on our end, or?
We can do it right now. We can forward the draft.
All right, so it's a draft and we're forwarding.
If you would like to hold off and do it the next meeting,
Well, Marilyn and I talked about a few things before the meeting. There's a couple of things I'd like to look up. But I don't have the information in front of me to look up.
so. Okay, you can table it. I mean, the vote is not on the agenda, so.
I'm just trying to have a path that's got a clear, rapid as possible. And because literally, this has gone on for years and literally, most of the people on the council for years have never seen any of these documents. So we're just coming in here blind as to our purpose and the rules. That's got to get fixed.
So Marilyn, the vote is not on the agenda.
All right,
John does have some questions
All right.
that he's going to research, so we'll look at that.
all right.
But I do appreciate all the work.
Absolutely.
You're very well, and I appreciate your finding the missing page of the document, if you remember. There was a missing page and it was in the copy that John had and we found it. All right, so next meeting, we can correct the links before then, right?
That, it's in the PDF. No, it's just that they are not live.
Right.
So once it goes online, they'll be live.
Oh, all right,
That's all.
all right. So next meeting we'll vote. Is there any other approval that has to happen then? I mean, what happens then is it will go back. Laura's got it already, but we can give it to Laura again and she will review it.
Based on what we move forward to her.
Right. And then is there another step beyond that? Does it go back to you again, Jenna? No,
I reviewed it. I think it's pretty straightforward.
okay.
And yeah, a lot of it's consistent with what Jane had done years ago.
This is from Jane.
Yeah, so
Yeah, all we did was anything.
different Jane.
Different Jane. Yeah, I mean, most of what I did was take things out, or together we did was things that were hard copy in here. They're now online and they get updated online, whereas this didn't. So we put the links in instead. So it'll be less of a burden to maintain than it used to be. And if we could just get it online, please.
And then I could also take my questions forward too about the charging.
Yes,
I'll look into that
all right, okay.
because I am curious.
All right, yeah, we all should be curious. It's an interesting
thank you.
challenge.
Yeah. Thank you, Marilyn.
You're very welcome.
And thank you to the council.
And thank you all the people that helped. A lot of people. Nancy helped, Jean helped,
Yeah.
John helped, Karen helped. We reviewed it together at least 2
Yeah.
times.
So, okay, thank you.
All right.
Next item, Carrie, Elder and Human Services report an update on the programs and the rollouts.
Sure. As you can see, there's the graph of the stats. I'm not gonna read that because I just think speaks for itself. We've updated February and March of 2026. So you guys can take a look at that as far as the programming that's happened at the center. I'll just highlight some programming updates. We started the community lunch and we had 20 patrons in February. And I believe we're up to 28 tomorrow. So it's been well attended and well received as far as kind of targeting a different crowd of clients to come to the community lunch, not just the bingo folks. The February birthday lunch, we had 50 people. The Valentine's Day lunch, we were at capacity with 50 people. We started Royal Tours back. They're going to Wright's Farm on April 24th. July 14th is Tall Ships. And I'm not sure what the 20th. There's something on the 20th. Oh, the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles. Sorry, there should be a comma there. St. Patty's Day lunch was a huge success. The food was done by the catering through the schools, and they did a what was it? Shepherd's pie, and it was delicious and fantastic. And everybody, yeah, it was good, right? Super low key, not very flavorful, which was great because it wasn't like super spicy. We had 50 people attend that and 15 people were on the wait list. We've also started a learn to play mahjong with an amazing volunteer. She's started, she's doing 9 sessions. There's 12 people enrolled in those, and it started on March 3rd and will end the 28th of April. And I think she'll probably start again with maybe either an advanced group and continue kind of with those sessions. It's turning out amazing. We did 58 tax appointments. We finished those up last week. Or today, I think was the last one, that were done at the library. We actually, I just want to highlight that we got an interpreter for a deaf client in the community for the Mass Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, who came and interpreted for a patron, and she was able to get her taxes done, which was super helpful than her just writing notes with the tax worker. Some highlights from behind the scenes. There's a lot. We've been rolling out this new system. The first email went out on March 2nd with some information on rec technologies and how to enroll. The fitness policy was discussed on March 12th. We had 30 patrons come in to review that policy. We sent out a second email on March 16th with some login information and upcoming events. And as of March 31st, we had 190 patrons enrolled in the program, and that's just, you know, in 3 weeks. Now we have almost 300, which is, I was shocked. Because Jenna was confident and I was shocked. We hired a new sub van driver who's going to be assisting Joe with trips and some vacation days. He's fantastic. He's been training with Joe and has done a couple of runs on his own. We did a Shamrock wreath making class that was very well attended, just, you know, getting some arts in here. The birthday lunch, we had 48 people for March, which is pretty typical for about 50 people. We had a couple of no-shows just because that happens with this population. In coffee talk with Jenna, we had 25 people sign up and came enrolled into the program, and we consistently are getting calls daily with help to log into the new program. So we're always, staff is always kind of punting people around, or who's ever available to offer assistance can hop on the call and enroll someone into the program. I did like 3 today. Liv was helping today. The nurse was helping enroll people today. So it's been a team effort. So I just want to thank the staff for being able to pivot and really become experts at this program, because it's not easy to learn a new system, and for the patrons too. And then, so that we have 270 users. That was as of yesterday, last week. It's probably more.
Yeah, I think we're almost at 300.
Yeah.
Before we go anything else, can we just, any comments? I know I do.
Yeah, sure.
The volunteers in March, huge.
Yeah,
The numbers are way up, that's awesome.
yeah. I think it's because the weather kind of evened out. We didn't get as much snow. We didn't have any holidays. So
Yeah,
people were here
that's
fully.
really wonderful.
Yeah.
So for the volunteer, lunch or breakfast next week, how
Yep.
many people, do you have invited?
We invited, I think she invited the max, I think it was like 70 people, but 40 are coming. And I do have invitations here if anyone didn't get one. Janet wanted me to bring them in.
Unfortunately, I'm out of town.
Yeah.
again For a conference, but
Yeah.
I'm disappointed that I can't attend, but I do hope that all of the COAs is able to attend to the volunteer breakfast.
general question about what's the rollout with the charging for the programs was instituted, how that affects enrollment? And how did it affect the program themselves?
It's,
Have a little spreadsheet.
yeah, Jenna has a spreadsheet she'll pull up. It's,
This is.
it's pretty. I would say it's pretty accurate as far as like, our numbers are pretty, stayed the same. So the people that want to come have paid and sign up. And it's, hasn't really changed much, which is great.
I noticed chair volleyball for tomorrow is canceled. Is that for the month or is that just tomorrow? You sent out an email about that today.
I think it's because we had low enrollment.
What was the enrollment like before?
It's about 8,
Oh,
between
that's
8 and
good.
10
And
people.
We didn't have enough.
I don't think we had
Yes,
enough.
that's a volunteer program
Yeah, it's
too.
volunteer.
It's
It's at
in-
night.
Yeah, and they do it on a
Try.
weekly basis, yeah.
No, yeah,
No charge.
Thank you.
yeah,
Okay, see, that's important to know that even a free program like that
yeah,
was impacted,
yeah.
potentially, but whatever. Neat.
I'm just, somewhere along the line, I've gotten the impression that the community lunch is capped. Is that right? Or is it open to?
It's open.
It's open. to
Yep.
However many. Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to make it big.
Well, and I
If
was
we could.
anticipating it
Yeah.
would be given what used to happen on Mondays.
Well, that's
but-
because the bingo.
But
card-
bingo, so I've sort of been looking at the Tuesday and thinking, is it, and that's part of why I wasn't sure if it was capped.
No, it's
just-
not. I think
it's
a lot of
taking
people
slow
just
to grow.
stayed in the seat
Yeah,
and sat
yeah,
and stayed. So that's why it was a higher number.
yeah.
But it's nice that we are getting 30. I think that's a great number for a new
Well, that's
rollout.
growing.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
growing,
you
yeah.
started out smaller.
Very
it's
small,
growing,
yeah.
So.
But I kind of like it small too, because I think it's intimate where people can sit around a table and have a nice conversation. We don't have entertainment or anything. It's just more of a
Yeah.
casual lunch. It's kind of nice to see new faces, and we're getting a lot of new people for the community lunch that we haven't had before, which is nice. Yeah.
I did enroll with the technology.
Oh, good.
And I found the user experience to be really intuitive and.
Easy?
very easy. to
Yeah.
use.
Good. That's all your homework assignments. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's new food. You have new food, right? Is it gonna hit?
It's been going great. I think it's great to be, I mean, Jane helped us with that connection with the schools, and I just think it's been a great connection to make. Using in-house and helping each other in the community has been an amazing thing. They're a new catering company, so there's some kinks on their end too, but we're all kind of learning this new process together. So it's nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to say, I've only been able to make a couple of lunches, but I had to laugh because as you say, meeting new people, it's great. And then when I was working the election, so last week, working the election, I had several people come through the precinct I was in that I had met through lunch, so we got to chat.
Oh,
at the- At election too, and they remembered me and I recognized them right away too, so that was kind of fun. That is not what I started to say, but now I've forgotten what I was trying to say, so it's been a day about that, forgetting all kinds.
I think that's what it's all about, right? The community is making connections here and like
Yeah.
seeing each other out at a
Yeah.
store or in a public place and
Yeah.
saying, see you next week, community lunch. I think that's a really important piece of this.
And it's also cost savings as well.
It is.
Using this.
It's about,
In-house.
yeah, like I think a sandwich from a previous vendor was $14 each. So that was expensive.
Yeah.
And with the schools, it's $8. And we had to cut them in half. So it's 2 sandwiches really in one. So that's a huge cost savings.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we're, supporting the school catering company. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's. an
Very
incredible
innovative thinking.
Partnership.
Yeah, and it's
very,
been great.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
We
totally.
really wanna Thank you, Jane, for that.
I remember. I had trouble when I first not signed up. Sign up was easy for the system. But when I went to register for something and I came in and worked it out with Linda and someone else was having a problem the same day. And we did think that maybe there are some issues if you try to do this on a mobile device.
There, definitely.
That things don't
Yes.
show. And so I just was gonna ask you if they
Yes.
passed that along to you. So
Yes,
they did.
absolutely. And I've
Yeah.
noticed it because when I've been helping people register on the phones, so there's a lot of hard hitters with the finger.
Yeah,
And the hard hitter phone hitters, it sometimes that like hits the, like you fat thumb it, you know, they
Yeah.
say fat thumb a text, like you misspell things. It was sending wrong information. It wasn't correlating. So what I've been telling people is to go home and try it on a laptop or your own device at home.
Yeah.
Plus, it's hard to see because the screen
yes.
wasn't
that's the other
showing
thing.
it
You
all
don't
too.
Show everything.
Yeah, and
You
we
don't
talked-
see the next step.
Yeah,
always.
we talked with Rec Technologies about that, and they said it was something to do with the vision of the way.
We might have it
Yeah.
zoomed
You
in.
might have it zoomed in on your phone,
Yeah.
no judgment, because I have mine
text
zoomed in as
size.
well.
Mhm.
Yeah, the text size, so it wasn't showing up fully. So have found that when I send people home to do it on the computers, all good. Yeah, and then you can register going forward once you've logged in on your phone.
Yeah.
But everybody's so quick to use their phones, but it's really, it's hard to see. I think.
You have any idea when everything's gonna be listed?
We're trying. We're trying to get everything over there. We're gonna have to use two systems for some time, I think. But hopefully,
Yeah, we have several programs up there right now.
yeah, several. Anna and Linda have been working like crazy to get all the stuff into the new system so that it's pretty streamlined for April and May. And May and June. I think they were working on May last week.
I think as you go along. Further in time, it's getting easier and easier.
Right.
Because there's less on the old system and more on the new system.
Right.
That's making it easier to deal with.
And we got the scanners, so hopefully we'll be able to start scanning and putting pictures of folks up on the account so people can refer to each other. You know, you can see pictures of people that are in classes with you and stuff, so that'll be good. So all things are kind of happening fast, but slow. I mean, we're trying to roll it out, but at a pace that's reasonable for us to follow too.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say thank you. You did include the breakdown by age in
Yes.
this report,
Yeah.
which you had showed me once before, and I think that's very helpful.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's a fun stat to look at.
Yeah.
Like we're servicing mostly between 75 and 84, which is kind of interesting, and a lot of 85 plus.
Well, that number surprised me in that figure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's those 103-year-olds that keep powerhousing through here that
Yeah.
come quite often.
I know the comment I had was about the van drivers. In reading the minutes from the meeting that was added into the packet, it talked about how COA members were the drivers. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
In the old days.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
Liability
Yeah.
issue, so, yeah. So, yes, I did notice that as well, and thank goodness we are not following that anymore. That would be, yeah. So thank you. Thank you.
Sure. I'll keep putting that, because I'm curious if that age stat will change
Well,
over time, you know?
So registering for programs.
right.
Registering for programs, it makes, if you didn't go back to the profile, as Jenna told us in the workshop session, and put your birth date in there, then you have to put it in every time you register for a program to make sure that you're eligible. And it would be nice if it would capture it once you put it in once, but it
100%.
doesn't.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully more people will put it in and you'll be able to get that figure even more accurately.
Right.
Because you'll have more birth dates. for
Right.
People.
Yes, we talked to Rec Tech about that too, and the other thing, as a whole group, Rec, Elder Services and Veterans, the emergency contact is a huge one too, because we have to go back in after and add the emergency contacts, and that's very, very important for the elder population and
Yeah.
obviously kids too, if you're in programs. So we're trying to get Rec Tech to just put that on the initial when you register.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right now, we have a,
Yeah,
we have a
we agree.
volunteer who's been, she's a pre-med student who's been coming in and
Yep.
calling all the new enrollments and asking for emergency contacts and then putting them in manually for us. Because we found is a lot of the data in my senior center was very old information. So a lot of emergency contacts unfortunately have passed away. So we're getting real up-to-date information too. So it's kind of like a revamp of the whole system. So that's been super helpful.
She's great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Thank you. The next item is a discussion on Friends and Family Day. This is something that we oftentimes do. For Friends and Family Day, we have a Council on Aging table at the event. And one of our responsibilities is to, get a pulse on the needs in the community and also share information with the rest of the community. So I was hoping, I don't think we did it last year. Or I know we didn't do the September event. But I do think it's important for us as part of our responsibility to man a table at this year's Friends and Family Day, which is, I should not say,
June 20th.
thank you very much. Which is June 20th. And I would like to get a sense of the pulse of the COA. Is this something that we feel we need to do? Is it something that people would volunteer to do? Okay,
Well, I was just gonna comment. Whether this affects your decision or not, that two other groups have decided that this day, so the Friends group and Reading in December, both senior groups, have decided that this day isn't quite oriented toward the sort of scope of our, and they've decided not to do it this year. So
Okay.
whether or not that makes a difference to how you all feel.
right.
But they feel like the later events
September.
have more of an emphasis, but this is really more geared towards families and kids and stuff, so that's their decision.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I second it. It used to be that we didn't do it because that was Jane Burns' take on it. She tried it. She's like, it's really not our target audience particularly. As opposed to the September one definitely is. And we tried it a few years and it was low participation, honestly. As opposed to the September one, we get a lot of people in September, so I would be very comfortable with not doing the June one, but being sure we are prepared for the September one and have good handouts and all those good kinds of things.
Right.
And
Any
I've
other
worked it several
thoughts?
times and I totally agree with Marilyn.
Yeah.
It's one of the few times this has happened.
And John and Marilyn, you typically would be at that table
We
as
were
well.
there, yeah.
And I would show up too,
Yeah,
but
I
you would
think so.
typically. And any other thoughts? Jane,
Yeah, so it sounds like we're talking about the Fall Street Fair event, which is
Yes.
later in the summer.
In September, yeah.
So the Rotary Club is meeting tonight to discuss if they're going to have that event this year.
Oh,
No, it's not going away,
okay.
but it might be going away just for a year. We have a major construction project that's coming, right? The streetscape improvement project, which will be on High Street. And what's gonna be super cool is when it's done, that section of High Street, right at the end of Haven Street, is gonna be a tabletop. It's gonna be like a long speed bump. You're gonna come up and then you're gonna go and it's be all stamped concrete. And someday that will be really cool for the Fall Street Fair, like a stage. It could be great for farmer's market, can make that happen in the future, or various other things. There'll also be a half wall that's built in front of the depot that says welcome to Reading. And some other improvements in that area, some more trees to reduce heat island effect. That construction is going to conflict with the timing for the Fall Street Fair. And so that intersection will be closed for about 4 weeks. And there'll be at a separate time sidewalk improvements right in that end area of Haven Street. So you'll be able to still get to businesses, but it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. It's gonna be a little more challenging. So Rotary Club is meeting tonight to decide how that event might change, because they won't be able to host it down there. So we're not sure what that's gonna look like, but I think that there's still going to be an effort to do something this year. So just put that on your radar screens, okay?
yes, Tom.
Jane, on that subject, I'd just like to add that I think even a scaled down Fall Street Fair would be appreciated because I think the events, if you miss a year, you just fall off the radar. Even if you have a scale down, I think it would be beneficial. And then next year coming, as you pointed out, coming back at a bigger scale, but I think they'd miss an opportunity, if they cancel it. First, I'd like to see it go, but even if it's in a scale down, because a lot of it also comes up, in front of CVS and down by Bunratty's.
It comes up right around that whole
And
area.
I don't think that area is gonna be, you could correct me, but I don't think it's gonna be affected.
No, the square is fine. It's just the end of Haven Street.
In the back CVS lot usually busy with some games and stuff.
Yes, yep, right.
So if you're saying it makes, hopefully we'll still have it, but it'll be modified.
Yeah, I believe so. I was meeting with the president of Rotary, which is John Fudo, this morning. So I don't know exactly what they're gonna do, but we have our economic development director at their meeting tonight to kind of get the heads up of what they're thinking of doing so that we can work with them to make a good event happen still. I think they still want it to happen, to your point.
All right, so we can revisit if it turns out it's not being held in September. But it sounds as though we would like to not participate in Friends and Family Day. Okay, great. Okay, discussion of possible vote on a survey on the needs of the elders in the community. And I put this on the agenda because I do feel it is important for us to, now that we've got a new building in the, that will be in a year and a half. And we talk a lot about, we want to identify what the needs are. And to me, a survey is one of the best ways to identify what the needs are for the 60+ community. So I'm putting it on, I put it on the agenda for discussion and a possible vote. And no, I cannot, I would like to be involved with the survey creation. I do not create surveys, but so I'm hoping that we can get help from town staff with that, because you do surveys all the time. Yes, John.
Well, once you create a plan, you distribute it.
The typical way that the town distributes a survey, which is online, there are a variety of ways that's paper-based. The typical methods for gauging responses is what I would anticipate. Yes, Marilyn.
Two things I would encourage. One is, I think we need to obviously decide the scope. It might be a whole series of surveys. I'm thinking of the scope of any one, and so you can do the questions, but I would really encourage whatever the scope for any given one might be, that it would be worth doing at least an informal, if nothing else, focus group saying, if I asked you this question, does this have the answers that make sense to you? To test it, essentially. Run it by 25 people or something, say, try this out and meet and say, did we get what we thought we would get? Because often there are questions that you think it means this and you think those are the answers, but someone else may not. And what people do then is just pick something that's best choice, but just to test it a little bit before we then go big. And it could even be an activity. I mean, get people in the center to come test it for us, and we could fund lunch to go with it or something, make it fun. But other than that, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Kate, I'm just wondering if you have any narrower focus in mind. When I read through the surveys from 10 years ago, what struck me was, I don't think you're gonna get much different than the categories that were in there. I think the ones that were there, the big ones, are still gonna be there. And what you might find is people who are concerned about them are even greater. Because the categories were affordable housing, worried about taxes, transportation, mental and behavioral health issues. I don't know, I've got them written down somewhere here. And after I looked at the categories, I looked at, so what has the town or anyone done that might be impacting those areas? And there's not that much. There's a little bit of a shift. Karen and I were talking before the meeting, the affordable housing is getting some attention now. And I think I heard someone say somewhere that the transportation grant came through that you guys have talked about, so that may have some impact in that area, but so on the big scale, I'm not sure if things are gonna change, and I just wondered if we wanted to focus in any particular way.
Well, I think
Why
part of
not?
it, and part of my hope is that it will really target to what we're looking forward to as we transition to the new building. But I think it does encompass those other areas as well, but I do want to ensure that we're hearing from the people about what their, what their hopes are with the new building. Yeah.
So maybe more of a focus on what that building can do in terms of needs as opposed to the broad. That makes sense.
Or like you said, multiple surveys.
I would like, if we can do it, at least a few, I mean, something I would like to see that I don't think we've probed very deeply on before. I mean, how deeply can you go when you got 20 pages and covering the whole world? Is understanding people's sort of stage of aging. A lot of people are thinking about going back for a part-time job. Are they in that category? A lot of people are looking to finally do the traveling they always hope to do, and their interests and their availability to do things could be really impacted. So I'd like to get more of a profile on categories of older people, because we probably need to target them with different kinds of things. And I think it would take separate surveys. I mean, it could even be a, come help us design questions if you're thinking about a trip, or come help us design questions if you've been trying to find a job, and lots of luck with that, I mean,
Yeah,
so.
there's so many different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I'm looking to town staff.
Right.
As well as this conversation.
This is a slight side question, but I'm wondering, Jane, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I keep thinking about the other thing I would love to see sort of an updated version of are the stats that were in those research reports. So they looked at the census data and gave us figures on, the percentages of homeowners in the over 60 and the percentage of homeowners who live alone, and they had some income figures. And I know that the American Census survey comes out, I think it's every 5 years. So if they were using pre-2015 data, it would seem, do we have anyone in town that gets that data and can analyze it? That's my question.
No,
know?
not in the way that you're
Okay.
asking, but we can
Okay.
look into it.
I just wondered because I didn't know if anyone, I didn't know if we get it in one of the departments, and I didn't know if anyone had the skills to do that. Okay.
I mean, we have folks that can do the work. I don't know that we've pulled the data to look at it in that way. But it's something we can do, yeah. Council.
Is that could be another thing you want to explore, Karen, is looking at demographic data about the population as well.
So we'll
Yeah.
work on, and if that's the council's direction, that is the council in agreement about moving forward, if that's what I'm hearing? And I can work on that, and you can come back within the next month or two with a, draft. It just looks like the future. Okay, great. I'm glad that that's something that you council would like to do. Any other thoughts, comments, or anything?
We just gonna find out everything we found out before.
No, we're gonna ask new questions and, yeah.
Actually, John said that the last time before I took a look at all those surveys. The reason I took a look at them was because John in another meeting said, don't we already know that? And I said, well, I don't know, let's go see what we already
The
know.
thing is, if we already know it, are we doing a good, are we effective as a COA in meeting those
Right.
needs?
Yeah.
That's the other thing we need to do, too. So, and, yes.
From a staff perspective too, with the programming piece, if we ask specific questions on programming, what people would like to see. Like I know several years ago, some random person, Peter Sullivan, came in and it's like, I want to bring pickleball to Reading. I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know what this is. Sit down, talk to me. And then John Futo, second call out of the night, I went into John Futo's office and I'm like, hey, I don't really know what this is. Seems cool. Can we try it? He's like, yeah, why not? Like, so there's a lot of things that maybe we don't even know about that people want to see, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what we're looking for as staff. What mental health services people might want in the new building, what type of programming they want to see, woodworking and all those types of things would be really helpful for us.
On that vein, Jean Crowder has been working hard on reconnecting with, because she's taken course of some of the OSHA programs, the Tufts one, the Salem one, I guess that's apparently has one now too. They had been on the verge of collaborating with the Stoneham Senior Center just before the pandemic. And then, so she's been sort of connecting with them, because they have great programs that are sort of a different angle on adult education than most of what we've more traditionally had, and I think there'd be a lot of interest in. She's just fact finding right now, and she'll come back to us with it, but she's getting very positive excitement about, oh, wouldn't that be wonderful to be able to reach that group of people? So it's something else we might help out by, when she has more information, to ask, how strong is this interest and how might we finance it? So it's another way to grow what we can offer.
Yeah, I talked to Jane about the lifelong learning opportunity,
Yeah.
so, yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways we can go,
Yeah.
and so we'll move forward. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is, well, do we need a vote, possible vote for this out?
No, I don't think that.
No, it's not a financial decision, okay. Working group update, and those are on, one other thing. I did want to going back to your comment, I noticed that there's 3 trips planned. I'm so glad to see that that's, and none of them I can attend, and I think they're all pretty booked, right?
Yeah, the enrollment hasn't really started
Oh,
for the other ones.
that one was sold out already.
I don't
No?
think so.
Oh, okay, but I'm really thrilled to
Scholarships
see.
might be, but.
I'm thrilled to see that there's 3 bus trips planned in the immediate future. That's excellent. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay, and then, sorry to interrupt, myself. The working group update documents starting on page 17. And I hope everybody had a chance to review those, and if there's any feedback. Oh, here it is. So you have worked, you submitted it for feedback, and then you've given additional questions. And so you should want to hear back from the.
Right. So these are documents in 2 instances where you've seen them once before. We gave initial feedback after the working group gave us packets in October. That feedback, the working group responded to, and there's just a few lingering questions or comments that we had. And so that's the fitness, the equipment room policy and the membership packet. This is the second time you've had a chance to take a look at them and read our comments, and now see if you have any comments or questions to add to those.
Very, so back to that first page, the policy. Just under. On the operations boost response, it seems to me, it's the third. Yeah. And the liability issues seems to be the biggest concern there with that particular, question, and I think that liability is the biggest concern.
Well, the other concern is possible discrimination issues. Because the way you phrase your language
Yeah.
could lead you to, maybe you're thinking liability and discrimination and saying, but yes, we're trying to make sure that whatever gets written.
Yeah. And it might be interesting to see how other, like, I don't know, do you have any thoughts about the third one down?
Is it this one?
Yes. Or are you just gonna respond more to, we could just resubmit these and then you don't need to respond. Right now.
Yeah, I think that would be best if we
Okay.
brought them back to the work group again and
But
then.
my question would be liability issues, of course. And then two more down from there. Oh, sorry.
This one, first one,
Yes.
the question I had on that, it's hard to read even with my glasses, but I think it says somewhere that it's, they're talking about whether we need a medical form or not. And it said some places, I think it said some places require that. Does anybody know of a place that doesn't require that?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer, but I think they pretty much all do. There's probably somewhere in the Commonwealth that doesn't, but I think the majority of them do. I think it's a good, I think there should be a medical form, a medical thing from your doctor, in my opinion.
The YMCA, I'm pretty sure I'm sure they don't, because I've used their equipment, and I've not gotten medical release. They're a broader range, but they also handle older people as well. I think they have some kind of cautionary statement saying you're accepting responsibility for deciding not to get a medical release or something. Yeah, but I'm sure I didn't have to go see my doctor to get to use the bicycle.
The, another comment I had is in the 5th column. How will final equipment receive terms less under K, your question? Yeah. I was in a senior center and that particular, all the equipment was donated. So it's outside the room, it said fitness room equipment donated by. So I think that that's something that we may want to, consider as well. And it's really great, it's great, want to plan outside the room and everything. So I'm not sure about the final equipment list, but I'd love to see if that's something that maybe somebody in the community would be willing or approve, whatever. So I just want to put that in the comment here too. And the next one, what solution will be available for those who do not use T-tags? I think it's very common to use T-tags as for, for these types of programs. So I think T-tags are very common. I think we just, if some people are resistant to using them, it's just to help people change their mindset. When you use a room or go into a room, when you work in a school, everybody has them. That's just how we enter programs and enter buildings. So I think it's pretty standard. Okay. I did have any other comments, as other people do, except, so I'm going to start which page this is. It is page 21 of the whole packet, 21 to 57. The question was, how will priority of lanes by age be established? And then there was, Kate, you had a comment, young mothers with strollers. I know over at the Newton Center for Active Living, their policy is no strollers. So I would recommend that as well. No strollers on the walking track. I don't know if that would come up or if that's been the policy that you've considered, but I think no strollers, that's what Newton does.
Yeah, we'll take it back to the working group.
Okay.
I know Newton also has set hours for their building from 9 to 3. So that could also be the reason why they don't have strollers. So, at all in the building.
Do you think it's
But
because?
on the walking track, I meant on the walking track.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm talking on the walking track. And another.
But we'll take it back.
Yeah. Cause that makes it easier. And then on the top of the next page. It was a question about the age being 16 or 18 or whatever, requiring an adult. And again, Newton's policy is no one under the age of 16. Whether they're accompanied by an adult or not. And so I just would encourage you to take that back to the work group as well. So, because you wrote Operation Working Group revisited, agreed that under the age of 16 should require parental supervision. So again, Newton's policy was no one under the age of 16 at all. And they are right next to the high school, and so when I was there during lunch, high school kids come over and play pool, but they said, no, we're not, and they check, they just check in at Yes, if they just heard. But no one in the agency seemed, that's the only comments I had.
No, some of the other things.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think the safe stroller one, I think the way it originally was, maybe it still is, I remember, I forgot to double check it frankly. It would have language saying strollers would be allowed, and I think what I was suggesting is if you do decide to stick to that policy, that it also mentioned that other mobility devices, assistive devices also are allowed, like walkers, because I think the original feedback said, well, it's ADA compliance and no action. Well, I wasn't questioning the building, I was questioning the inclusivity of the language of people who have some sort of assistive device, because if I had a walker, I wouldn't be sure I was welcome to bring that walker up there. It'd be nice to see that it was encouraged, so. But if you're gonna do what a stroller should probably do what everything else do, I don't know, but I wouldn't think that you would, but just, it's an inclusivity issue of the language, not of the building or anything.
And which one was that under? I'm sorry.
This is the one that had strollers.
Or for that, that's in the middle of the page, then it's a page 3, under
Page 3.
next page, and right in the middle. But, yes, yeah.
It's technically, they're all mobility devices of some sort, so.
Right, thank you.
So take it back, yeah, so again.
Sure.
Any other comments, thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to sort of try to summarize for everybody where we are. So the council has received from the working group, first the packet, the fitness and the membership packet and the room rental, and we had no comments on the room rental. So we're now in the second iteration on those. We received the programming policy from the work group in December, and our feedback from the council went to the work group in February, and that's where it sits down, that's with them. And then we have the final document in the packet that you get today is a response to a memo on the program policy that we received in January. So that's the first time we've commented on that. It's going back to the work group now. So that's where we are in the whole cycle of things. Oh, sorry, and we got the operating budget or whatever it was called last time, just last month. So we haven't provided any feedback on that yet. We're still working on that. So that's where the work group is on collecting all the feedback and everything.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We good? Okay. Well, this is a good time to be segue to the PDC update, with Ron.
You have no minutes.
No, just kidding. That was my fault. That was my fault.
All right.
Make it snap.
Okay, so, there's been 3 meetings, so quite a lot has happened. We're in a very exciting stage for retail right now. The biggest news was that at our February 6th meeting, the permanent building committee reviewed bids for the Center for Active Living and awarded the contract to J&J Contractors of North Billerica, Massachusetts. And their base bid put in $3 million under our working budget. So as a result of that, we had money to consider alternatives that had been proposed, and the permanent building committee approved both of those alternatives, which amounted to $450,000. One of the first improvement was for the site access improvements for the Range Road work, and then the second one was for the photovoltaic solar cells. We also had we met with the actual contractor, the team, Jonathan Braley, Larry Bronner, Karen Patel, founder and CEO, and also April Backus, who is the town's on-site planners project manager. We understood that on-site. One of the items that came up at the March 4th meeting was we revisited, because we had the information about the bids in, and we were more certain about the state of the budget. We revisited the flex room divider issue, which was something that had come up previously and had been voted down by the permanent building committee, but there was a lot more budget uncertainty at the time when it came up. So we just wanted to revisit that just to see if the committee would reconsider and look at possible different designs and see if there would be a way to make that possible. The idea is to put a partition in the flex program room to allow two support groups or smaller program groups to meet simultaneously. And we did have the architect spec out some possibilities. He came back with an estimate of $307,000. There was a lot of discussion with the committee, and I think that the conclusion was that while the concept had value, the cost and the space trade-offs made it difficult for them to justify supporting that. We didn't take another vote, but we continued conversations about alternatives to the divider for the program room, and a couple of suggestions that have been tossed out as possibilities for support groups and small program groups to meet are the conference room outside the billiard room and the game room. And we're just focusing on how those spaces will be programmed and used day by day. So those are the kinds of discussions that we're having to determine how we can support these programs. There is strong agreement to the importance of the senior hub concept, and that includes the Zumba room, the flex program room, the game room, and the senior lounge. Those were the four rooms that accomplished what has long been understood and supported as the senior hub concept. And just the importance of keeping those rooms as part of the senior hub for their intended purpose, the importance of spontaneous social interactions with seniors. We felt that, you know, there was strong feedback from the community that was an important thing to do. Another thing that happened was we got the accessibility report back from KMA Architects. That has been made public. The architect reviewed some of the questions and comments from that report and responded back. The architect's PHA, and another thing that came up at our last meeting was the mention of the potential upcoming furnishings committee. And that is expected to help guide interior furnishing decisions as the project progresses. We were hoping that there was a shared goal that Council on Aging representative participated in that effort to ensure that senior programming needs and usability can be central. And then the last piece of information that I have is that there is a groundbreaking ceremony for this Thursday. And that marks a very important milestone in this project. So right now, the project is $2.5 million under the working budget, and shovels in the ground, and there's some snow going.
I drove by the area yesterday. Has anybody been by lately? Yeah, lots of, a lot of clearing, I suspect. Is it going to all be gone by Thursday?
I think there's, sorry, Jenna, I think there's 3 trees that have to have a change order to take them down. Because they're of excessive size. And I don't know quite, I'm not entirely sure, but I just heard this through the grapevine, so. But yeah, for a lot of those trees.
There's a lot of work that's happened. So I do wonder, where will we be meeting on Thursday? Because the right side is a disaster. Range Road is very narrow. Where
You
will we?
should park behind the Burbank Arena. The parking is only behind Burbank Arena, not in front. That is to be maintained open for their clients
Yeah.
coming and going. So only park in the back and then walk down Range Road to the groundbreaking.
Okay,
What's the time?
John.
It starts at 9
AM?
starts at 9. It's invitation only, so it's open to boards, committees and commissions that have been invited because it's not generally open to the public.
Oh.
Because it's not really accessible. We don't have enough parking to accommodate however many people would be interested in going. So we will post photos afterward. We have like 40 seats. It's supposed to rain. It's a lot of mud.
Is it?
I was looking at the weather this morning. It looks like rain in the morning on Thursday morning. So it's not, we're trying to be as inclusive as we can to the boards, committees, commissions that have been involved. So, but Council on Aging's involved. Invited. You all got an invitation, right?
I got
Just an email.
Just an appointment.
It would just have been an email.
No email, just an
What
appointment.
about recalc? Is recalc invited?
Recalc,
Recalc.
recalc, we could invite them, I suppose. We invited Council on Aging, Recreation, a bunch of staff related to the project. The Permanent Building Committee, the Select Board have been invited. And then we invited the delegation. And our insurer's been invited, a couple of other folks like that.
And I've been asked to call it, has been posted as well.
Yes, I
That makes
saw
sense.
that, but I don't think I saw an invitation.
No invitation, just
Join
join
it.
it with my reminder.
The whole project is $2.5 million under budget. Why couldn't they consider using some of that money for the divider wall?
I think that's
What's the question?
worthwhile discussion.
That was a big discussion at the PDC meeting.
Some they would no, they don't want to.
There was concerns about cost, and there was concerns about design footprint that the committee expressed reservations about. The town also has suggested alternative ideas for places to meet. And another consideration is to talk about some of those alternative ideas as well.
One of the things I found interesting was two people who were in support of it back in the fall changed their mind. They were no longer in support of the divider, which I found surprising. Did you find that surprising? Kate?
I think in part, the reason people may have changed their mind from fall is because to do it now requires changes in the design regarding, the whole system, the air system and ducts and stuff. So it costs more than it would have cost if they'd approved it in the fall. Yeah, so I think it's a harder pill in a sense to swallow now, money wise. But it's because we're making the decision now instead of having made it back then, so,
But the vote back then was no,
right.
the vote, yeah, and
Yeah.
they had a long conversation about it.
Yeah.
back in the fall.
Yeah, they've discussed it at length,
Right.
but they don't see the value from a learning perspective and a design perspective built on research based on senior needs, so.
I'm sorry, Marilyn's gonna.
And you and John?
Something you said triggered it, and I think it just went. Oh, I know, the irony that it's too late now is when it first brought up and Nancy proposed it. Part of what was said to us, well, it's a lot, it's money and we're not sure what the need is, but also it's really too early because we'd have to adjust our contingency funds, so it's too early to think about it, and now it's too late to think about it, but the bottom line is it would create the ability to have two programs running simultaneously, where right now there's only one in that room, and it just seems like common sense, but it's a big discussion, but.
Well,
I know.
they decided not even to vote on it, so.
No, they actually said, as the council, Ron said, we haven't had a chance to bring it to the council, and they asked you, has it come to the council? And you said no, and so they backed off on voting until we brought it to the council.
Oh, that's how you interpreted it?
Yeah.
I think it would be good to solicit feedback from the council, especially since the public, during public comment.
Yeah, it seems to me that the divider is very important. It's a building that's going to be lasting us hopefully for dozens of years. It should be done right, it should be done right in the very beginning, not sometime later. It's a mistake, not more.
Yes, well, and virtually every other remotely new senior center, community center I've seen has at least one smaller sized room. And they use them, they work. I understand money and all of that, but in terms of the long-term picture and what the use is and growth and flexibility, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But that's me.
What is it?
Well, it was an estimate.
And can I just make a comment
Wait,
on that?
wait,
Okay.
yeah, we'll finish the conversation with
However, when the original estimate came back out in July of 2025, I think it was $125,000.
Yeah.
So I think, I do think that there's room to push back on the architect and say, really, are there any other alternatives that are right size, less expensive than the one that has been proposed? I do think that it's important that we provide right-sized rooms, and it's unfortunate because I think that flex program room would have been perfect for some of these programs.
Mhm.
I do think there will be a day in the future where we're gonna rue the fact that we didn't design with that thought.
Hey, well, I just wanted to say, so Marilyn just said, so we keep talking a lot about the size, but it's not just about the size. It's about the space that you're creating and whether that space is the best space when you're working with an adult population and you're trying to have programs focused on learning, et cetera. And so one of the suggestions that has been made, if we didn't have the divider in the flex room, is that so what the literature about adult learning tells us is that smaller spaces make people feel safer, more comfortable, they get more engaged in the learning. So one proposal was made, well, we could buy movable divider kind of things that we could put in the big room to help create sort of a smaller space. And yes, you can do that. It's less effective than having the room actually divided. But it also then creates another issue that the building committee had been worried about is where do you store this stuff when the room is being used for something else? Because there's no storage designed for this room. So now you've got dividers you've got to push up against the wall. And with respect to using another alternative that has been proposed, the game room, then you've got all kinds of issues relative to the furnishings in that room and whether they create the best learning environment. And you'd have to bring in whiteboards and things because there's nothing in the game room that would contribute to a learning environment. And then you've got another thing that has to be stored. So it just makes more sense to build rooms that are focused on learning environments rather than trying to repurpose another room, in my mind.
Yeah, I do think though, the one thing I do want to say is the game room I think should be renamed. And, something other than game room, because right now, how often do we have games? Because I think that's.
All the
space-
time.
All the time. No, but I know, but yeah, I know there's cribbage, there's rummy cube, there's mahjong, there's puzzles, yes, I get. But there's also times when I'm just thinking that game room is a great size too, that I really hope that we take advantage of that size. But that's a really nice area as well, and there's lots of windows, which I think. There are lots of windows, there's something I'm a little concerned about with the flex room, but Kate.
Well, I just want to say, I cannot believe that with the intense excitement right now, if that game room is open and it is open all the hours that the center is open, as it has been promised, that there is not going to be mahjong going on 24 hours a day in that room. I mean,
Yes.
oh my God, people are looking for places to play all the time. The library sponsors places. You've got it going on here. You've got it going on in other places around town. Board games are sponsored in several areas around town. And I just think that we're underestimating what might happen in that room when people have the freedom to just say to one another, hey, you wanna do this? Cause right now, we don't have that here. You only come here to play a game when it's scheduled. You get to play bridge on Friday mornings, right, John? You know, and that's it. Now John could say to a couple people that he plays bridge, would you wanna meet over there Tuesday afternoon at 3, you know, and play bridge? Cause I think the possibilities are much greater than we think right now for that whole community. And an important part of that is that it's spontaneous and it comes out of what the people themselves want to do in that space, and giving up that space for many reasons is really going to change the whole feel of the lounge area.
John, do you have anything you'd like to add? I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak.
I agree with the idea. I have been involved in some boys clubs and organizations like that. And I know the smaller rooms are welcome spaces in those facilities. The issue I would have is if we create a portable room, obviously, is it going to be portable to the point that sometimes the walls don't go all the way up and will be people in the next room will be able to be hearing what's going on? If, and I'm hearing if we have an opportunity to go back and revisit an area where we could take advantage of an isolated room, but I think you bring up a good point. I think I'd like to see, especially as a senior, a room where we do have some windows and light in it. I wouldn't want a room where there are no windows and it'd be just kind of dark and simple thing, in my opinion, from what I've experienced.
Rosemary, do you have
Thank
any
you.
thoughts? I want to make sure everyone has a chance to be heard.
Are you addressing me? Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Bear in mind, I can't hear a damn thing. First of all, I think, I think we need to have more microphones there, and Karen absolutely has to have a new microphone. Several years ago, the members of the Council on Aging set themselves on this path for a new center. And I feel like the Council on Aging is pushed aside and not really listened to. We have asked for a divider for the gym because we see a need for it, and that's sort of being pushed aside. We need a large area for the lounge area for seniors, specifically for the seniors, not to be used for other reasons, and I don't see that happening either. We haven't talked about transportation for seniors, and seniors also need regular, timely updates regarding the progress of the new center. I just hope that the Council on Aging regains the power and the say in this new senior center. Bear in mind that that small group put many hours in several years ago to set us all on a path for a new center. What were you talking about? I have no idea.
And you contributed. Rosemary, we're talking about a divider in the flex room.
Well, we definitely need a divider in the gym area, the large gym. What's the flex room?
No, we have a flex, we have a divider, we already have a divider in the gym. We have a divider in the multi-purpose room. We do not have a divider in the flex room. That's one of the 1,000 square foot rooms. When you first walk in, it's the first room on the left. And there is not a divider there.
Okay, back up. So the large gym area, we're gonna have a portable wall.
We do
Oh.
have a divider already in the gym. We do have a divider already in the multi-purpose room. We are talking about a divider in the flex room, which is one of those 1,000 square foot roughly, give or take, rooms on the left as you first walk into the center.
Okay, and are the powers to be and all these other committees that have their hands in these decisions listening to you?
No.
No.
Well, it has been presented to the PBC and, yeah, and Ron gave us the feedback back on that.
So it sounds like as a council, we're all on board with this partition.
Yes.
It also sounds like there's some pushback on the game room. Like one of the things that I keep hearing is that the game room is a part of the lounge. And that,
It's separate from.
Yeah, no, it's separate.
but no, it's considered part of the senior lounge by a lot of people, so.
So, anyone else have anything different to add? Nancy?
I have 3 points. One being way back 1 billion years ago, when the design was in development, this game room was intended to be part of the senior hub, and it was intended to be encased in the lounge area. And it was intended to be an area where socialization and interaction could happen informally throughout the day. Of games would still be scheduled at certain points like they are now, but there would also be times when, 4 or 5 people get together with their mahjong boards and they use that space, they have a cup of coffee and so that game room, maybe it's the wrong term, but it was never meant to be a room to schedule programs, educational programs. It was meant to be part of this informal socialization process. That was the original intent of that whole area. The minute you turn that room into a scheduled program room, and perhaps you have the, the OSHA group or whatever it might be, in that room, that will change the environment in that part of the lounge. It will not encourage people sitting there and talking and chatting. So anyways, that's one point. So I have a real problem with that. Going back to the initial vote by the Permanent Building Committee back in July. I was on the Permanent Building Committee when that happened. And my recollection of that, and if I knew then what I know now, I would have approached the whole thing very differently. The vote was taken without a lot of research or foresight or education about why this divider was needed. And a smaller program room was kind of the overriding reason for that. But so the fact that the Permanent Building Committee is willing to revisit it, perhaps the town is willing to revisit it, because the town itself has not been very supportive of the divider in this room, in this smaller room. And there's a real problem with having to repurpose existing spaces that were intended for other purposes when they were designed. We are backpedaling, and it goes to Rosemary's point of, we were looking forward to this building as an extension, that there were going to be more people, that there was a need for more space. And so I would really encourage the town to have a discussion with the Permanent Building Committee again, because the Permanent Building Committee is taking its measure from the direction that the town is taking to this divider. So it's important. And there needs to be more than one bid out there for that room. $300,000 is Everybody says it's crazy.
Thank you. Yes, Jenna.
I definitely understand your point with the socialization piece in the card game room. In the initial design too, I had a little bit of a different interpretation from what I recollect, and the reason that we put those double doors in the game room is that when there was overflow for a program in there and there was 25 people playing mahjong and they wanted to spread out more, that they could go sit in the lounge area and have that overflow. So I think I have the opposite recollection in my head, that it wasn't supposed to be an extension of the socialization area, but it certainly could be, to your point as well. So I just wanted to clarify that the initial design was to put those extra couple tables outside the game room for overflow from the program space. And I don't know if you,
And I,
that, but-
and-
Okay.
but,
Thank you.
but no, I think your point is
Yeah.
also very valid, because it can be used as an extension socialization space as well.
So, I think we're good.
I got one more thing to add.
That's different from what I was.
Yes, we haven't yet discussed the, third, another alternative is the conference room. I think that, I think there was some interest on the part of the town, I don't want to misrepresent. We did ask about adding a door to that conference room, and the answer to that was no, it's the same. But I did want to bring that to the council as well, how do we feel about possibly using that conference room as an alternative? First of all.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi. I just want to point out that after different classes that I've had here, or even special meetings that we attend, a group of people like to hang out after those classes, which we do, but then we're asked to leave because another class is coming in and there's not another space for us. What space is available for people who want to stay longer at the center and just chit chat?
Yep, so there's two lounge spaces, Rosemary. One right next to the game room, and then there's a wall, and on the other side, there's also a room. I can try to pull up the floor plans as well.
See if we can.
Are these the areas the ladies are discussing tonight?
Yes, partly. So you have the two lounge spaces, one with a TV and one with a fireplace. During, good weather, you could go out on one of the two, the patio balcony.
How large are they? And are they in an area that people could have a cup of coffee and linger?
Yeah, no, I don't know the square footage, Rosemary, off the top of my head, but they have plenty of room with couches and chairs and coffee, if people have coffee with them or whatever, you can get water or whatever. We also have some seating areas outside some of the program rooms, I think outside the exercise fitness room upstairs or some. There's like a couple of seating areas. It's like, there's casual seating areas in a few places. So like, you come out of the arts and crafts room and you can sit there. And so I think that was one of either Nancy's or Marilyn's suggestions during the design, to add these kind of different spaces where people could sit. So you don't have to go all the way back to the lounge if you don't want to, but you can just like finish your conversation or whatever, or you're waiting for your program to start. There's a space where you can kind of hang out on soft furniture. So those are spread over in a couple of different areas, plus the multi-purpose room will, if there's not a program going on there, those seat spaces will be open. You can grab a table in there at any time too. But yes, to your point, there will be that kind of casual area. The card game room that we're talking about is next to one of the lounges, the lounge with the TV, but it has double doors that can be closed, and then actually a single door that can remain closed to separate it from that space. So it's there's windows to that space, but it can be separated. I went back and looked at our early plans, the earlier layout plans. And so the flex room was the program flex room, right? And then on the second floor, the older plan, the maker space was a program room. And so the request was made, can we make it a maker space? And so that program room was changed to a maker space. It's still a program room. It will have tables and it will have printers, and so you'll be able to do programs in there, but it was another dedicated program space that the request was made, let's not make it just programmed, give it a defined purpose and give it those additional pieces to elevate it to a makerspace. So that was a change that was done back in the area too. So yeah, so Jenna's got the thing on the screen. And if you can see her cursor moving, you've got the two lounges she's hovering over right now. And you can see in one of the lounges, it has two tables, two 5-top tables. And that's the spillover space she was talking about from the card game room here. And you can see there's like French doors, and then there's another door on the side. And we could equip those doors with sort of sheer curtains or something to provide a little privacy if you want to say, we're gonna close this and have a small group, and then we're gonna open it, because it's gonna be available. Base amount of hours is like 71 hours a week.
That's on the
So-
second floor?
That's on the first floor.
Oh.
First floor, yeah, that's all first floor, that's your senior hub area. And then there's the patio outside too that you can get to from either lounge or from the game room. Which I think will be just really nice because it's gonna look out on the conservation area, it'd be really pretty. So yeah, so the program room is the room that they're talking about. They're looking for a divider for that room. That room is set up as a learning space, so it'll have movable chairs and tables that can be reconfigured in small groups or a large group like that is. That would be like a council on aging sort of setup, if you want to have a big board meeting in there. That room will also have, there's a TV for projection into that room. There's, so if you're putting stuff up on the wall, if you put a divider in there, it creates, the architect talked about it at the permanent building committee meeting about what it would take to make that work as two spaces. And, so that was part of that conversation. Do you want to look at the second floor just to show the makerspace too? Sure. So this is the current layout now. But if you look back at one of the older ones, that's the makerspace up there across the lobby. Which is also a very quiet space, right? There's, and if you look outside the flex, the exercise equipment room, you'll see that casual seating that was brought in. But yeah, that makerspace was also originally a program room. Same idea, movable tables and chairs. And then there'll be and there'll be a printer in there and internet access and telephone to help with tax prep conversations. I know that was brought up. Shine counseling can happen in there. And then Jenna, if you wouldn't mind, if you would just go down and show where the nurse's office is in the shared office space. So I don't know if you can blow up your screen a little bit to make it bigger.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger. I want to show, yeah, there we go. So this is the nurse and professional room. That room was designed for shine counseling and tax preparation and the nurse. And so what it is it's a desk with 2 chairs, printers, all the equipment that are needed there for those programs, but the private programs. But then there's a nurse's closet, all her equipment's in a separate space. So if she needs her things, she can access them, but she can lock it. And then it can be used by Shine or tax prep or related programs. Now, if we're in one of those seasons where you're having, open enrollment or it's tax season and we need additional space, we can use the makerspace and we can use the conference room. If you can show them the conference room, because that'll have access to the equipment that's needed. They have doors that close for privacy. And just to keep it quiet. So the conference room is here. Now the conference room is located at the end of the hallway with employee offices and employee spaces. There's a waiting room up in community services, a table there, but that's also like a waiting area. So if there are appointments in the conference room for tax prep or Shine, that counselor can come out and get people who are waiting and they bring them down. There'll be, like I said, the equipment that's needed in there. There's also a television in there. And then the veterans lounge.
Where will people be able to get coffee and sit and chat?
Dunkin' Donuts is where you can get coffee. But downstairs, Rosemary, go back. Yeah, wait, she's got it zoomed in, yeah, right here, right there. So there's a coffee, there's a sink on that countertop right there. That's a wall that's between the two cafe, the two lounge areas. So the one to the left has a fireplace and the one to the right has a television. And then there's a coffee countertop area there that you could have coffee. There'll be a water fountain, I think, over by the bathrooms.
I think that's the area that people are gonna kind of hang out in.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But there'll be multiple spaces. But yeah, this is what that's intended to be, is where all our not all of, but where our 60+ community is really gonna be able to have it's there. It's not really open to the rest of the community. Do you know what I mean?
All right, when you say it's not open to the rest of the community, would it be locked during evening hours?
No, it's not gonna be locked, but we're gonna have it, the building is proctored, right? So there are staff that are there all the time. And so if they're there for programs in the gym, they're going to the gym. If they're there for a program in the flex room, or they're there for a exercise workout or stuff like that, they're gonna be in the rooms that they're in, and then they're out. The lights will be low in that area. It won't be open unless, there's a 60+ group that wants to go down there. They'll be open to 60+.
Jane, if you could I heard you mention it, but could just review the place for Shine? Is there a place?
Yeah, on the second floor, there's an office space, a
they
shared
have
space.
A private office space?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
private office space, yeah, on the second floor.
So let's go full circle and go back to the divider for the gym. Is that a definite no?
No, it's a yes. It's a yes. It's a divider curtain.
The one in the gym is a definite yes, Rosemary.
It's a yes.
We're talking about the one in the program room, which at the moment has been a no.
Kate, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say that anyone who builds understands that it's not just about the individual rooms, but it's also about flow and the way you structure things. And if you look at that whole lower right corner where the lounge and the game area is, it is clearly designed to be a flow of movement from the lounge to the game room to the patio. And that's part of the reason why we feel so strongly that that room should not at any point be blocked off for a program or any other thing, because it's visually and conceptually part of the socialization area of that purpose back there. And so it would, if you have that blocked off and people are having to come through the lounge to get in there and everything, it changes the whole mood and the whole perspective. And several of us are just really strongly against affecting that. And if you've got to repurpose a room, there are other rooms that can be talked about for repurposing within the building, instead of taking away that one critical issue that we're trying to build in this new building that doesn't exist here, which is space for people to come together on their own and create interactions. That's my opinion.
And Marilyn, do I need your?
Just real quick, sorry. Since I got the floor, I'll hold it. The other thing, it feels extremely premature to me to talk about any of the spaces as, oh, we're sure we're gonna have spare time at this point. Granted, it's always been just like this building. I mean, if there's room upstairs and no one's using it, lease it. But the commitment is to really expanding programming and letting it grow. I mean, you heard all the interest in the games. There's lots that we can see filling it in. And until we know that that growth has happened, we're not really gonna know when something is or isn't free. But if it's gonna be free, my guess is it's gonna be an hour where most people would rather be home eating dinner or something. And it's not where these substitute programs are gonna wanna come in. I mean, they're gonna want prime time as well. They're just as valid programs, and they need their space just like we need ours. And it's just much too early to assume that what happens here is what's gonna happen there. And it really,
goes contrary to the whole argument that this is a place to grow and flourish. And yeah, of course, we'll share when there's unused space. Everyone will. So will the gym. I mean, so will the conference room upstairs. But it won't most likely be in ideal times for these programs you think you could just put in there. And it needs to be thought through more in the process of how people really will use the building.
Yes. my question.
Because I'd like
So-
to end it and I.
So of all those options, I think, Jane, that you shared, I think that the one that is most promising, aside from the partition in the program flex room, is the conference room. I think that one has the least amount of resistance. It also seems like that's something that the town has expressed a willingness to make available some of the time. I think that the other question I had was about the makerspace. You presented that as a possibility. The question I have is, when are the furnishings for the makerspace going to be put in that room? Like, is there gonna be a period of time where it's gonna be empty that we could?
Well, so FF&E, furnishings, fixtures and equipment is chosen a little bit later
Yeah.
and is budgeted for. And then, but we haven't picked it yet. So is that what you mean?
Well, no, when we go live in September of
Yeah.
2027, will the furnishings be in there? Okay,
Place will be completely furnished and ready to go.
thank you.
So. Hearing consensus. It does seem like. Taking a vote may be helpful, or it does seem like a vote needs to be taken. What happens with the vote, we will just send it to town meeting, to the town staff and to the PDC. We'll see, I mean, one of the things I'm thinking too. But this could be unpopular, but looking at that makerspace. What happens if we sacrifice that makerspace and then we won't need a dividing wall? Cause that's a smaller space too, just throwing it out, but you know, that there are options. But I'm just, okay, no, forget I said it.
All right. It's
But I
just math, 2 for 1 or 1 for 1. You don't
Right,
gain.
right, yeah, but at least then it doesn't cost any money, it's like.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
The
cost money.
the absence of
Yeah, I get you.
expense,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm throwing it out there. So. Rewind. So. We want to take a vote as a COA. It's not on the agenda, but again, as a vote, but we certainly have discussed this enough times. And. I will, so I'll read, what's the word? I will. Consider a motion.
Is this a motion to support the body?
You make a motion.
So I move that the Council on Aging support the request to the Permanent Building Committee to reconsider putting it in the Flex program probably.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna vote to ask for something, I think the lounge should be, not touching the lounge at all should be included in there. Based on what I did with Recalco, we visited 16 different sites. The fact that I played bridge in 4 different, senior centers. I think the lounge is the most important thing. As far as I'm concerned, we don't get the lounge, we have to say,
The lounge,
The lounge or the game room?
The lounge is not being
No,
touched.
it doesn't.
well, if they do too much with the game room, then the lounge could be affected.
Not changing anything in that space.
Pardon me?
That's not,
There's no change to the game room or the lounge space, it's just a utilization conversation. Just so that we're clear.
just say, Jane?
There's no change in the design to the game room or the lounge space.
That's
That's not a
about
conversation.
change to the use.
That's right. Yeah, just
John
so,
is proposing not change the use.
just so we're clear.
okay, but this is a vote that's going to be, because they don't discuss it. Right. Any, so there's this, somebody second?
I did.
Okay, any further discussion, any further questions? All right.
I have a question. What do we have for storage?
In terms of what kind of storage, Rosemary?
Where are we gonna be storing chairs, maybe balls for drumming, Those take up a lot of space. What do we have for storage?
Rosemary, we're talking specifically about this vote, about the flex room. There is a lot of storage if you look at the plans, so that's kind of a different conversation. I'd like to limit it to what's on the floor right now.
Which is what?
There's a motion on the.
I can't hear you, really. You have to do something about the volume. And Karen, you absolutely need a microphone for yourself because you start off soft and then you trail out that we can't hear you at all.
I do apologize, Rosemary, I'm sorry. So there is a motion on the floor to, for the Council on Aging to vote on, and I'm poorly paraphrasing it, to put I should have written it down.
To support.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a motion on the floor that the Council on Aging supports the request to the Permanent Building Committee to reconsider the addition of a divider in the flex program room. Did you hear me, Rosemary?
Yes, and I'll vote yes on that.
Okay, Rosemary votes yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
John?
Yes,
John?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0.
Now, I don't know, John, John Parsons, do you want a separate motion about not changing the use of the?
I just want to throw that out there. That's
Okay.
something I feel strongly about. A motion isn't necessary. I just my opinion, that's all.
I think it's worth a motion because a lot of us feel very strongly about that and it's one of those things that you might think it's easy to change and suddenly go. And I think it's the heartbeat of the senior hub, frankly. So I'd like to make a motion that, because this is the operations committee, it goes to, maintain the status of the senior hub as a senior hub. Does that capture it? No, what should I see?
Because
All right, try.
the argument would then be that if it's being used for something else that is also designed for seniors, it's still part of the senior hub. I think what you want to say is that you're making a motion
Go for
that
it.
the intent for the use of the game room as a room for,
And the lounge.
well, the lounge and the game room as a place for socialization and informal impromptu gatherings be maintained.
Excellent. That works for me. I
That
second
works.
it.
I'm not even sure what I just said, but okay.
So discussion about that, because you will have things scheduled. So how do we decide what's the definition?
Well,
of
that's
impromptu
why I
and what
was
isn't?
struggling a little bit, because
I-
if John's bridge game is scheduled in there,
Yeah,
it is a scheduled event, but it's in the nature of the game, so it's keeping within the spirit. And I don't know at any given moment, like how many, I said this to someone earlier today. Apparently, when the other John plays Rummy Cup, you have quite a few people there, right? Like 20 or so,
Yeah.
which would pretty much fill that room. So nothing else could go on in the time that is scheduled is. So I don't really know how to word that in a way that captures that. So,
yeah, because how do we define impromptu?
yeah,
I think what we need to do is just make sure that the operation group hears what our sense is. I don't know how we vote on it too, but I think, that's something, as we get into programming, that's something that, we want to keep it in the spirit of the space. Whatever that means too. We don't know how to define it, but that room is going to be a very important space. And it can be used for a variety of purposes. I don't want to limit it. I want it to be available because it's a very welcoming space. It's bright, it's got the most windows. It's a really nice space. So I'm a little hesitant to limit how we define it. It's a really nice space. Impromptu, I don't think but.
As opposed to being scheduled, I think it's what we're talking
no,
about.
well, I'm
Regularly.
thinking what makes the difference is it is a lovely space and it is intended to be a lovely welcoming space.
Right.
It is not intended to be a learning space, and that's the issue.
Or an
It
elementary
actually
space.
doesn't work well as a learning space
Yeah.
because there's too many distractions with the windows and everything. So when you're creating a learning space, you don't want to put a. And besides the fact that, as we said, you've got to bring everything in then for the learning space. If you need whiteboards and everything, you've got to bring that in. If you're using AV, I don't think there's AV in there. So that limits the ability to use that room as an effective learning space. So
Yeah, there's tech in that room. The game room has tech in it.
It has
use what?
It's technology in that room.
Does it have screens and
Has
and
a
all of that
screen.
like the other rooms?
It's only got like one wall, it's got windows and doors everywhere, so it hasn't got much.
Yeah, it's a smaller screen than some of the room, but it does have a screen.
That has shelving for a bunch of different storage, games and puzzles.
So,
I-
so is the idea just to prevent regularly scheduled programming?
No.
Well, no, because regular schedule would include
Yeah.
Rummy Cub and Bridge and,
Right.
As long as it fits the purpose of
yeah,
like card games.
but that's where we're differing on what we think the purpose of the
Right.
room is,
Yeah.
so.
I think it has, yeah, I would be open to having that be a learning space, to be honest. I mean, I teach a lot of professional development and using a space like that can be really, could be a really great space. So I am reluctant to put any limits on that space.
As long as that's not like the common, it's like, I think that occasional use, like I guess what I mean is like occasional use is fine.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I don't want-
I don't want to limit, that would be my recommendation, not to limit the space, to be open to possibilities there. Because, but again, it's going to be used for a variety of purposes, puzzles, board games, you know, all types of activities. Okay.
We can try it again next month.
Yeah, I just don't want to leave, I think it would be a disservice.
Yeah.
For us to limit how that's being used. It's absolutely a welcoming space. It's for socialization. And the socialization could take on different presentations
It
of
could.
what that says
It could.
socialization looks like.
As long as it's 60 plus.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's always been, the 60 plus. Yeah. I mean, studying that. I wouldn't limit things like that. That's really nice. To me, a book study conversation in that room is much better than putting the percent of plus. With no windows and dark. That's just me. I like a welcoming environment.
Yeah, I think this as long as the game room is available 90% of the time for people to play cards and games. And it doesn't, like, there's this unintentional shifting to thinking that it's nothing but.
Yeah, and I think we would have scheduled card games and puzzles and all that, but then there will be drop-in times for games too, that Carrie will create with our team.
I guess I think of anything better, so.
In terms of.
All right, next item
Me
is
too.
future agenda items. So we want to talk about the property tax worker program.
What happened to trust funds?
Oh, I'm sorry, I totally missed it. Trust funds. I'm sorry, trust funds. So there's in two places in the agenda, we did put in the trust fund information. I sent it as a separate email and it's also within the packet that Marilyn put together. So we just want to make sure that everyone is clear about how the trust funds are to be used because that information does include the purposes behind the, Rosemary, I'm trying to speak louder. Can you hear me? I do need a microphone then.
Yes.
My kids would
You need
disagree.
more microphones all around.
You get a microphone, I turn my hearing aids down.
And maybe John could hear better too, the other one.
So I will try to project a little bit better, but the trust funds information was included to ensure that everyone had access to the documentation, which explained the purposes behind the trust funds, how we can disperse money, as well as the flexibility and the responsibility that we have as the COA to use that money. And so that is included in the packet for that purpose. It's a reference for us. If there, I wanted to include it in case there's any confusion, discussion, any clarification that is needed. Any questions about that? It's a resource for us to have.
I think it's a resource we should use when our leaders at the center, who have all the knowledge of how much money they need from one month to another, that we supplement it from whatever trust fund we can. If they tell us they need 5,000 a month for the meals and what other programming that they have to cover, then we should supplement it from the trust funds.
And in the past, we have had it as a standing vote on the agenda, that trust fund discussion and vote. So we can put that back on the agenda as it has been in the past.
I did a
Marilyn?
quick eyeballing of, Jen has been helping me get all these old reports and things in the detail of what the money really has gone, not that anyone was putting something that wasn't, but to understand the detail of where the money has been going. And overall, among the ones that are under our control, it's been almost exclusively either meals and entertainment or outreach, and almost 50-50. Recently, we haven't had much of anything on outreach, but in the past, it used to be about 50%. We paid for the postage for pleasantries to go to every single household 2 or 3 times a year. We paid for postcards, we paid to print materials that could sit on the counter. So I was surprised it was that much, but it was actually about 50-50 in the past. So it's just an FYI, and there's a lot of entertainment and stuff that's been paid for, as well as the promotional outreach. So, and we're not restricted to those things by any means, but just to understand how much we have helped, Rosemary. I mean,
How much what?
how much we have helped. Most of the big events that you've gone to, and a lot of the not so big ones, have been with the support of trust fund money. It just, they get requested each couple of months or so of, this spring, we'd like to do 3 big events and it's probably gonna cost this much and we'd like to get food from this restaurant, and I've never seen it turned down, let's put it that way.
Just in response to what Rosemary said, I think we have to be somewhat careful with what we spend. We can't just always say, oh, we give this, we give that. Because the more money we take out of the trust funds, the less money is there to be invested, so that it doesn't grow so much. So we've got to be very careful with how much we give out.
Yes, we have a responsibility, but we do have flexibility as well. And it is always something that comes to a vote as a COA.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, yeah,
You've been doing it a long time.
yes.
I have a question. I just was, in going through the materials, I noticed in the material on the parcels that there's language that the council was supposed to determine the spending categories. Was that ever done? Because I don't see anything in here.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I think it was the time when we decided to put a hold on spending, frankly.
Okay, I was just wondering because I didn't see anything in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the topic of understanding these things, the munis reports are not easy to read. Does everyone agree?
They're not.
They're not. They're confusing. And to really understand how much money we have and to make sure that it's growing, I think it's important that we do. If we could bring in whoever the appropriate person is, Rachel, to walk us through, also to understand what kind of trust funds are these? I think it was WBUR conveniently had a special on trust funds while I was driving Saturday. And there's all kinds, including new ones, that in case you're looking to have yourself frozen, they will protect your money until you're thawed out. It's a new one. I think South Dakota's doing that. But it's my understanding, and this is based on just something I came to understand, and I couldn't now tell you why, is that the intention of the funds has been to not just retain the original principal amount, but to keep it to protect its value so that 10 years from now, it has the buying power that it did when we got it. That's one thing trusts can do. And other trusts can just say, here's $10, you know, spend the interest, which might be $1.50 or something, and don't worry about increasing the 10. I would like to understand the philosophy of the trust committee or whichever it is on what they're doing, because my understanding is also they don't invest our trust funds alone. They package all the funds for the town, and there's an investment policy that overrides all of it. So whatever they're doing for all of it is probably what the goal is as far as, I would like to understand that, because it's easy to look at this and say, for example, Burbank, oh, it was 200 some odd $1,000 and now it's 300,000. Oh, we've got $100,000 more. But if you look at the future value of 200,000 over the 30 years or what we've had it, we're kind of just really holding steady on that principle. But I also would like to understand what it is that we're spending when we spend the interest, because not all investments are interest-bearing accounts. Some just have capital gain or loss, heaven forbid. And I think what they're doing is taking the return on investment. We just need to understand these terms so that we really know what we've got and what we don't, and we can spend every penny that we can. So while not losing the value of the trust funds, so. If we could get a meeting, I'd say a special meeting that walks us all through this sort of trust fund 101.
So that segues to the future agenda.
Okay, excellent,
I'm putting it down, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, so another one will be the property tax worker program,
Okay,
which Karen, you mentioned that there will be a discussion over at a July meeting.
I don't know when.
Oh, okay, I thought you said July.
I said
earlier.
upcoming. So
Upcoming,
I'm reading it somewhere.
right.
Please don't quote me.
Okay, yeah, I remember the discussion last year. I was at the select board meeting. And, okay, I think that discussing the accessibility report, we can just take a look at that as well. At another meeting. Anybody else have any requested agenda items? Tom?
I guess towards, Jerry, last year, Chris ran an event in the senior center. I'm not sure what it was called, but it was kind of related to health. They had vendors come in, it was
Yes,
kind of a
okay.
health day vendor.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is that, am I ahead of myself?
No, it's
Is
June
that-
first, it'll be June first, we haven't
It'll be
really
June
started to
1st, you said.
publicize it yet,
Okay,
yeah,
That's good to hear.
yeah,
I think it was a very worthwhile event.
yeah.
Vendor fair?
Yeah, it's June first.
June last year?
it's a health.
No, it's a health man.
It's a health fair.
Right, a health, that was in June last year?
No,
Oh, I was gonna say,
I thought it was
seems
the
like,
fall.
It was-
right, it seemed more.
we've kind of moved it around a little bit.
Okay, so the health fair is June first,
Yeah.
okay,
Liv's working on that.
okay. And if we need anything from us, should I add to the COA agenda?
No, we could just publicize it.
Okay.
The only thing I'd like to add is, do you know do you know the site where it will be yet?
Here,
They think it could.
in the great room
All right.
and upstairs, it'll be
Yeah.
from 1:30 to 3.
I just thought last year it was kind of fun, you know, and it looked like there could have been more vendors. I don't know the town availability, but
I know Liv is
I
just,
think it was an event that could have been
Right.
held in. I don't know how many people got upstairs too. Some of the vendors were hidden out of sight, and I thought a more public place that where everyone could have been on the same floor would have been beneficial for the event and for those attending.
yeah, unfortunately, we do it here. So we
Okay.
have to deal with the space we have. So we'll have signs to go upstairs like we have in the past. It kind of is a flow into this building and into the first floor and then upstairs. I don't know how many vendors we have at this point. Liv is just reaching out to vendors now. So we're waiting for
I'm
feedback.
sorry, did you say what a date?
June 1st.
It is.
There's a fire right over there on.
And just one final thing for the future agenda items, it also has come to my attention too, from the town clerk, that the way could potentially be, that there could potentially be open law violations, so I just want to, bring that up as a topic in this meeting as well. So,
Give any shares, and we don't make more for the next month?
Just, I would talk with the town clerk.
Alright.
I'm sorry, I say that, I'm president of the town clerk, but there have been some concerns about the possible of leaving.
Okay.
So. All right, anything else?
You want me to make a motion?
You always do, John.
I'll make a motion that any meeting that goes beyond 8 o'clock. Karen has to bring it back to her homemade cookies. And with that, I can make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call vote, Rosemary,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Ron. John.
Yes.
John. Karen, yes. Thank you all. Thank you.